We're now into May, just like 3 games left, Gonzo. But when it was looking bad at West Ham, it somehow managed to get worse due to Andy Carroll and David Moyes in training on Monday. Did you hear about that? Did you read about it?
Do you know, I heard about it and I didn't read about it because I almost lacked any interest in it at all. I think it was just a lack of surprise on my part. That was when it first happened. Since then, I've you know, curiosity gets the better of you, really, doesn't it? So I started to look a little bit more into it. But initially, I just thought we just lurched from one calamity and bad story to another. And as you just said, you know, just when you think it can't get any worse, it does get worse. But I think the biggest thing was, whilst I wasn't particularly interested or bothered, there was no surprise. And I'm unsurprised at their intentions in that dressing room.
When it rains, it pours at West Ham. It's always pouring. The weather is worse at West Ham than it is up here, and that says something.
You said it was sunny up there when you came down at the weekend. Yeah, I saw you. It was raining down here. You said you'd have the sunshine in Scotland.
Yeah, I've had not bad weather. It's been pouring down today though, but recently it's not been too bad actually. I'm a bit worried that it's actually my summer I'm experiencing right now.
Well, I'm trying to recreate the summer in here because behind this banner, as you know, maybe a few of the viewers and the listeners don't, there's a tumble dryer, and Mrs. Gonzo has been drying some clothes because there's nothing going on the line down south at the moment because it's so wet. So it's like a sauna in here. So if you see me sweating, it's not under the questioning from the from the live panel later. It's bloody humid.
Well, wearing a hoodie is probably not the best thing to be wearing.
You know, I don't have a, well, listen, the stick I get of my Star Wars t-shirt, I'm getting some anyway, I'll be wearing something new soon. I just didn't have a t-shirt that was ironed.
Do you, back to the Carroll thing, do you blame Andy Carroll? I mean, we mentioned in the review briefly because someone had texted me saying that when the 3 subs were made during the game, Carroll got up off the bench and walked down the tunnel. He didn't even stay to see the rest of the match. I mean, can you understand his frustrations, or do you think it's a bit sort of big of him considering that he's been injured all this time? You can't just walk back into the team type thing.
Yeah, nobody comes out of it with any credit, but just because nobody comes out with any credit doesn't mean that you can't criticise both of them. I see a lot of this. You get a lot of that with arguments these days. People take one side, it's black or it's white. Well, it's not. It's quite clear and it's quite right and reasonable to be disappointed with both of them. You're absolutely right. I think Andy Carroll has possibly been available for a third of his games since he signed for us. I think Andy Carroll probably earns $3 million a year. What's he been with us? 4 years, 5 years? He had a year on loan. Andy Carroll, with signing on fees and everything else, Andy Carroll's probably earned in excess of £15 million from West Ham. Andy Carroll's built a life, a very nice home. He's done very, very well at West Ham United. And bearing in mind, it's not frustration of game after game after game after game. It's one game. I understand he probably felt that he could help out. Probably felt that he should have come on. Bearing in mind, he'd scored a late winner very, very recently. But bearing in mind everything he's taken from the club, he had no right to react in that way. Although, obviously, I would have put him on, and the tactics from Moyes were wrong. But he's got no business behaving like that, as far as I'm concerned.
I can understand his frustrations. At the end of the day, he got a last-minute goal against West Brom and a last-minute equaliser against Stoke. That's 3 points. Without those 3 points, we'd be in the bottom 3 because we've got a worse goal difference than Southampton. But you can't act like that. It's just unprofessional at the end of the day. It's a team game. Whether you agree with Moyes or not, it's one thing. There's ways and means of going about it. And getting up off the dugout during the game is only going to bring attention to it. And he knew fine well that was going to bring attention. You know what the cameras are like these days. They're just looking for anything. There's a camera probably permanently on each dugout waiting for something to happen. So since he got off, I mean, Moyes got asked about it after the game. So even the media then started provoking him, saying, what are you going to do? And he said, I'll deal with it. Obviously, he didn't deal with it very well because Carroll went home early from training on Monday. It got labelled as a clash, and this is why I didn't read anything, because a clash can be many things. It could be just an argument, words, but it could also be a physical altercation, which I don't think it was, but a clash is very, very broad. It's not very accurate as to what it was, but it's come out today that Carroll was returned to training because they had a day off yesterday, and so he returned to training today and apologised to Moyes and the players. So that's, as far as you're concerned, is that water on the bridge, under the carpet, and we move on and look ahead to Leicester now. I mean, he's got to be included in the squad because he's almost too. I wouldn't want to have seen him left out as discipline, especially at this point of the season. You can't afford to be.
Yeah. Look, morals went out the window at the moment Masuaku came back into the team. Let's get that straight. If we were going to take the moral high ground on anything, that would have happened. The moment you let that pass, then really what Andy Carroll did pales into insignificance compared to that. So I think if you're looking at that for the better of the team, the betterment of the team, do we want to have our best players out on a pitch at all times? Then I guess he has to be invited back into the fold. There's no reputation to uphold. We're not the custodians of the moral high ground of football. Far from it. We're desperate. We're fighting for our lives. We're struggling to play football, and I mean we are struggling to kick a ball from one end of the pitch to the other and pop it in the goal and stop the other team from scoring them. So with that in mind, if Andy Carroll can help, I'm sure he'll be involved. What I would say for Moyes is, because we do criticise Moyes an awful lot for lots and lots of different things, and things will crop up in the show where I can criticise him again. I think he possibly might have been damned if he did, damned if he done. He was going to upset somebody, but it might not have been Chicharito. There has been a lot of times when Chicharito has come off the bench and scored winners and different things and scored important goals. Then he's not been included for one reason or another. So I just felt he should have taken it like everybody else has. If it was Arnautovic, for instance, you could sort of understand it a little bit more. You think, well, I'm a player of the year. I've been really good for half the season or whatever. I'm in a rich vein of form. You might understand his frustrations. Not that he should do that, but Carroll's not in a rich vein of form. But he's patchy. He's always been patchy. It's very infrequent what he does, and he can't go around acting like the best player on the team. He doesn't play football enough to be the best player on the team.
It was 4-1 as well. I think context is needed here. The game was over. He could have brought on Nathan Trott up front for all we cared about. It wasn't going to make a difference. I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised he didn't bring on Cullen and Hugo just to get them game time or something and say, well, you've got half an hour. The seniors haven't done it. You've got half an hour to show me what you can do and put yourself in contention for next week. It's all a bit pointless, really, but it just...
A bit like us, mate.
Yeah, it's a bit worrying for David Moyes' reign, though. He's not been here that long, and already there's sort of like fractions in the dressing room. And this is something Bilic had. And actually, I'm going to defend David Moyes here a little bit, and it goes back to Bilic, and that is one thing Fergie always did at Man United that I think doesn't get done in football anymore, is he removed player power. Player power did not exist at Man United under Fergie. If someone tried it, they got sold. Fergie was the one in charge. Now, we've seen that likes of Chelsea now, they were probably the first big side in my memory to really show player power when they didn't like their manager. It was like, right, we're turning on him. Terry, Drogba, Lampard, and that. They could get managers sacked for a long period of time. They could get whoever they wanted gone. We see that Leicester, Vardy, etc. wasn't very happy with Ranieri, got him sacked. And now, I'm not saying that players got Bilic sacked, but they certainly, some of them down tools. And Julian Dix has alluded to after, and Bilic to an extent have alluded to, that some of the senior players didn't really pull their weight. And that's where the board need to step in perhaps and say, well, which players aren't pulling their weight? And we'll get them on the transfer market and get rid of them. We'll trust the manager here. And then you send out that whole message, really. If you ain't pulling your weight, you're out. Because what does it say now? If we've now got players in the squad, the down tools under Bilic, they're still here picking up the wage and manager sat, that players are thinking, well, if we don't like Moyes, we're just not going to play for Moyes anymore. We'll just get him gone as well until we find the manager we do like. At some point, there has to be a strict, firm line, and that is the manager's the one in charge. You ain't pulling your weight, you're out. But to counter that, we all knew Sacco wasn't pulling his weight, and the board failed to sell him in about 4 transfer windows. And it wasn't until after Bilic was sacked they managed to sell him, which was a little bit like, all right, okay, this guy's been causing your previous manager issues for years, and you've just ignored it. But this is just a small part of the big picture, if you like. I do think something needs to be done in football, not just West Ham, in football in general, to remove player power. It's got too much.
I just well, you got on, because I don't know whether we'll touch on it in the show again. So just while we are on the subject, I do believe there are some bad eggs at West Ham in the playing staff. So as I say, it's like I said earlier. Well, do you blame Moyes? Do you blame Carroll? It's the same thing here. People seem to try and pick, not everyone, of course, but people seem to try and pick, is it the manager's fault? Is it the board's fault? Is it the players' fault? Well, sometimes it can be everyone's fault, and I think the owners are doing a horrific job. I think the manager's really, really poor, and I think there's some bad eggs of players in there, and I think there's a lot contributing to how crap we are at the moment.
You said there's no black and white. I think almost the difference between Moyes and Bilic is black and white, though. One was really laid back by the sounds of it. I mean, you could even take your bloody pet to training if you wanted at some point. But now you've got David Moyes, who's the complete polar opposite, who's really strict, who's really, you know, training at West Ham would have went from this to this straight away. And there's going to be a lot of players who's not managed, who's got too comfy under Bilic. They're not going to be used to the David Moyes thing. They'll do it for a while, but eventually the enthusiasm is going to wear a bit thin, as it does for everyone. They're going to think, actually, we don't really fancy this hard training type thing. But anyway, yesterday, the London Stadium survey results come out, which was hosted by various West Ham websites. We're going to run through the results. Are you ready? I take it you've had a look through them all, etc.?
I've not looked through the results. Obviously, I did it. Obviously, we were involved amongst lots of other really good West Ham sites. So I did it. It was 20 questions, weren't they? So I don't think you're going to sit here for the next 20 minutes and surprise me, though. So, but yeah, let's crack on.
Yeah, if you don't want to listen to the survey results, we've already seen them. You could probably skip the next 20 minutes and then head to the end of the show. But we'll read them out, the questions and answers relatively. We'll put a link below for you to go get them more detailed. Responses. Question 1, what is your age, Gonzo? Most people in the same category as you, age 45 to 54. I
take offence, but I'm 44, so I don't know how offended I can possibly be.
The good thing about that is it shows it is sort of like the older generation to an extent. It's not just loads of teenagers going angry.
No, listen, we could be some angry middle-aged people on there. There's no doubt about that. But I'm in a category below. Let's get that straight.
The difference of ages was quite even, actually, from 13% to 18%. That's from 18-year-olds all the way up to 64-year-olds. And the older generation, there was only 6% of them. Question 2, how long have you been supporting West Ham? There's a clear relation between age and length here, so there's no point going into that. Question 3 was about how many games you've attended. It varied again. 26% of them claim they've attended all of them this season. Me and you are probably the same here. I don't know how many I've attended. 11 to 15 or 16 to 19. I'm probably 11 to 15.
Yeah, but I think it's something like maybe I've done 2 or 3 away games on ISO as well. So
this is not the one.
Whatever. Certainly. Yeah. So 10 to 20 games. It was that one I would have been ticking that box. Yeah, I'm sure by the end of the season we'd have done nearly 20. So yeah.
Question 4, this is where we'll start answering them. After 20 months at the London Stadium, do you believe the move was a good idea? Yes, no, or not sure yet? What did you put?
Oh, no, I definitely put no.
Yeah, so did I. 52% of people agreed with us, and yes and not sure was 20.
But yeah, I'm sure last season we were probably putting not sure, but I'm pretty damn sure now.
Yeah, I've yet to see one positive out of the move, really. More people can get to the game, but tickets, the Upton Park was never sold out. And apart from the last 4 or 5 games in the last season, I never struggled to get tickets. Even in the final season at the Bowl-In, for the first 10 games or so, I never struggled to get a ticket at all. I was able to use my Claret membership as normal, just go on and pick one, and then sorted. Question 5. This is an interesting one. When will the London Stadium feel like our proper home? The options was it already does. Next season, which, by the way, literally nobody voted for. Out of over 4,000 people, not one person put next season. 2 to 5 seasons, 6 to 10, more than 10, or it never will. Can you recall what you put?
I think yes, I can. I put it never will, but I was looking for another category then, which obviously wouldn't have been there. I'm not criticising the composition of the poll, by the way, but as you know, and as I've said on numerous occasions, I don't think that stadium's going to be standing in 15, 20 years. I do think it's getting knocked down. I do think it's going to get rebuilt as a football stadium. I think then it will happen, but that wasn't part of the answers available.
I put 2 to 5 seasons because I think if they wanted it to feel like home in 2 seasons' time, they could. It's going to take a lot of buttering up each way. It's going to take a lot of cash on our part, and it's going to take a lot of hard work, etc. But they could do it if they wanted to. I don't think it's difficult. you don't need the seats to be next to the pitch to make it feel like home, in my opinion. But it's going to take a lot of work. So I put 2 to 5. 38% of people said it never will. And 30% of people agreed with myself and said that 2 to 5 seasons. Question 6. If you are a season ticket holder, do you plan to renew for next season? Now, 77 people skipped these. So I assume out the survey, that's suggesting that 77 out of the 4,000 odd people aren't season ticket holders, which means majority doing this are season ticket holders.
Which is good, yeah.
It varies again. 27% said they plan to, 13% say they have, 10% say no, 14% say they're not sure. Well, and here you go, to be fair, not a season ticket holder, 27%, and 6% is on the waiting list, which is quite a high number considering we all mock the season ticket waiting list. There's 6% of this survey are actually on it.
Yeah, well, they'll be real people. You can't mock that. Well, you know, worry not 6%. You're getting tickets next season, I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, the other confusing bit, though, is there's not a season ticket holder. Does that mean the 27% don't want to be on the waiting list? It's quite a high portion. I mean, this 2 categories could essentially be the same answer, really. It's probably worded a bit skew whiff there. What did you put? I'm planning on. Is that what you put?
Yes.
I put not sure. 27% is the highest one, which is they plan to renew. Question 7, if you're a season ticket holder, have you ever used ticket exchange functionality for matches you cannot make? Have you used this yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing that I've got to say about it, though, so I got £5, which when I went to do the season ticket renewal, there didn't seem an obvious way to attach that £5 to my checkout, if you know what I mean. It wasn't clear. It was not clear at all. So in the end, funny enough, I ended up not, as you know, I've ended up not doing it. I've not renewed this yet. That's not a gun to anyone's head or a threat. I'm not going to. I thought, you know what, this is just too much hassle. But yes, I have £5 in my West Ham Monopoly money account. Thank you very much. I'm gonna get a new hoodie, a thinner one.
Or you could get 10% off taking your child to a Category A game.
Very nice, isn't it? Very nice. Nice.
10%. That's all you get. I used it once, and I got my £14 club cash, and it's still sitting there in my thing. I seen it though. I went to the club shop with Nick on Sunday because he had his grandson with him. So I went to the club shop, and I seen it for the first time being used in the club shop. All you had to do is put your season ticket down on the card reader, and it said, oh, you've got this much money on your club cash. So I was impressed with how easy it was. I thought it was just going to be a hassle. You know, you had to go in and give your reference number and they look it up or something, because it's West Ham. I didn't expect it to be straightforward, but to be fair to them, it works just like a gift voucher should. So
aren't they taking it away from us though? Aren't we lose that money, gets lost in the abyss or something really soon? It sort of disappears in a puff of smoke, that money. Is that not right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Probably.
We're going to have to use it when you renew, I suppose, if you renew. To be fair, 32% of people here say they forward it to a family member or they sell it themselves, and the rest was all 10, 20.
Well, that system is good. I've got a whole list on mine. I have got so many people that I know on that list of ticketing, you know, from family to friends to people that you'd be familiar with and see on the vlog. And we do use that. We do exchange tickets for Man U. Tony's dad's going with him, and so we do use that. That's useful. That's a useful facility.
Yeah, I used to think it was good, but the problem is now there's not many people that actually want it. Even some games, I'm like, you can have for like free, like that, you know, right? It's just,
yeah.
The option.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're right. You're right. Thanks, mate. I'm getting herpes on Saturday. Thank you. I'll leave it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm not too sure. Question 8: what is your view on the general matchday atmosphere at the London Stadium in terms of volume and support for the team? Excellent, good, average, or poor? What did you vote on this one, Mr. Gonzo?
Average.
That's what I put as well. 49.2% said average. Only 20% said poor, which is quite low. I thought I was expecting to be a bit more than that, but it can be good. The atmosphere can be good. It's probably a good thing that most people filled this survey in before Sunday, because they might have changed their mind after Sunday when it was a bit quiet, but it's expected. But only 3% said excellent, though. So not many people are a big fan. Question 9: what is the view on the quality of stewarding and security, taking in account the last game you attended at the London Stadium? I think we can all guess what's going to be here. But what did you put in this one?
Whatever the crap one was, I don't know. Yeah, listen, it's been poor. We all know that, and we all got our own individual stories. But the cherry on the cake for me was them not letting Mike through with his comedy ladies Mary Poppins umbrella, and it's not even got a spike on the end. It's ridiculous. It looks like a tulip, and it was nothing offensive about it, aside from the fact it looks like a tulip. But you know, and I just watching them have to check with the supervisor another one if it's all right to take this flaming girly umbrella, and it was ridiculous, and it was unnecessary, and anyway, I say everyone's got their own story, and there's far worse than that, but just generally the stewarding is not upstanding at all, and you notice it when you go to other away grounds. When you go to away grounds, it almost reminds you again when you go to an away ground, oh, actually this is what stewarding's like with proper football stewards there.
Sometimes I come across nice stewards, to be fair. Sometimes I come out like in the search or whatever, and they're as chatty as they can be, considering they've only got 10 seconds to beep you through. But some of them are a little bit, you can tell they don't want to be there. But it's more the management of the stewarding and security that I voted for poor for this one. It's the way they're managed. When at the game on Sunday, when there was a Man City goal, there was the guy in the purple coat was ordering all the stewards in their football boots to stand up and stuff. He's telling them, get up off your feet. So what's the point? What are you expecting? Like, nothing.
They might be doing the okey cokey or something.
But no one in the crowd has even flinched. We're all just standing there watching. He's like, get up. It's like, I'm looking around thinking, what's he telling everyone to get up? I thought he was speaking to our team for a minute. I thought he was facing the pitch, telling them all to get a move on or something. But no, I just thought it's just excessive. Just calm it down. It's not even happening here. But yeah, I voted for poor, and so did 53% of people. Only 11% thought it was good or excellent. They probably know people at work at the stadium. But to be, like I said, Joe, there is nice people there. It's just the management of them that's really bad.
Actually, you know, listen, nice and competent are two different things. My old Tyler was nice. It was shit, though, as if the ball would end up wonky at the end of the job. So nice is one thing. You've still got to be good at your job, you know, and I think that's the thing. And I don't blame them in many respects. A lot of them wet behind the ears. I mean, these are a lot of young teenagers dealing with, I don't know how old they are, 17, 18-year-old, which is, you know, that's absolutely fine on a new job. In many jobs, we've all been there, but I do find a lot of them, as you've seen it yourself, when people stand up, start singing, they become intimidated. And a wise steward says, oh, wait, they just know, hold on, well, this is not intimidating. They just stand up, they're about to sing, they're going to clap, they're going to do a few bits of sign language at the player, and then they're going to sit back down, or they're just going to carry on. And it's that wisdom of knowing, actually, this is not an intimidating and volatile scenario here. This is just football fans going through their song, basically.
I think that comes from the management of it, though. I think it's someone in there, because the London Stadium is knowing that at the London Stadium there's people in that control room watching all the CCTV, barking orders through, and you can tell sometimes when you watch a steward's body language, you can see they're getting grief in their ear or something, because they're quite hesitant and moving, and you can tell they don't really want to, and they're not really comfortable, but sort of someone's telling them to do it. Question 10, halfway through the survey: what is your view on the quality, choice, and price of food and drink within the London Stadium?
The bad one.
Poor. Why did you put poor? Is it just too expensive?
It's expensive. I think the food's a bit dry, and not like much of it. We eat on the boat, which is lovely. And they serve Heineken beer.
Yeah, you were slacking off my hot dog on Sunday, actually.
It looked pathetic. It did look nasty. The bun was dry. It looked really. I'm glad you brought that up. That looks nasty. The sausage was too big for the bun. For one, sausage that big.
I often have that problem.
Well, are you talking about the dry crustiness? Because that was what the fun.
Yeah, it's not nice.
You took this route, fella. You went route. You went route one. But it was. Let's move on.
Yeah, but I felt like I needed some sort of food, so I queued up for a hot dog, got it after about 8 minutes. I started looking tuck into it, went over to Gonzo, and Gonzo went, that looks shit. I thought, cheers, mate. Really looking forward to it now. My appetite, which was quite little to begin with, pretty much just disappeared.
I do restaurant reviews for anybody that wants to know. I always leave a nice review on TripAdvisor.
Yeah, it was okay, but it wasn't worth £5 or whatever it was. I put average, but to be fair, I very rarely eat or drink inside a London Stadium. one of us needs to be sober and try and remember things for the review. I tend to try and do it myself, sober up a little bit. Question 11. What is your experience of the London Stadium sightlines and views of the pitch from your seat?
Yeah, I can't remember, but I think I gave just a favourable one. But you can see all the pitch, the sightline is good. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I put good. More than happy with the view from my seat. Not that many up very often. That's good. 35% actually. This was the one with the most votes. 35% of people voted good as well. 25% said poor. They're probably in the band 5 ones. It doesn't really ask about value, though. I think if the word was value, I think it might change. But then the 1966 club would be the ones voting poor. Understandable.
Yes, not quite right.
Question 12. What is your experience of travelling to and from the London Stadium, taking into account walking, public transport, or car?
I probably put somewhere in the middle. Actually, the transport to the station is fine. It's not their fault. I live a long way away, and so on and so forth. But the walk is not what was promised. So I didn't. When we thought we were moving before we actually went there, we didn't think there was going to be that long old trek. So I think that scored it down a little bit. But the transport itself is fine.
The voting was very split on this, pretty much 30-30-30. I put good, actually, because I've never been affected by the walk, because when I turn up, and to be fair, I quite like the links to Stratford and that, because I can use the Jubilee line, so there's a train every 5 minutes out of Stratford and gets in pretty quick from the centre of London to Stratford. If I really wanted to, I could go back on myself and I get into London and go to Euston and take the train to Stratford, which takes literally 7 minutes. Yeah. So I like it. And because we've got the boats, when I go to the ground, it's empty. There's nobody in my way. And then because we go to the boats after the game, by the time we leave the boats, the queues are gone. So the walking doesn't affect me. It's just a selfish answer, but it's about this is what it is.
It is selfish. I mean, but those queues afterwards stop me going to night games now because of the links which I've bored everyone with already for Waterloo, and then my connecting train after that. If I could walk straight out of the stadium and get to the station in 10-15 minutes, then I wouldn't have a problem. But those queues afterwards literally stop me going to night games.
Yeah, well, I put good on that one. Question 13. How do you rate your overall matchday experience at the London Stadium?
What were the options on this one?
It's the same as all of them. Poor, average, good, or excellent.
I can't remember. Obviously, it wouldn't have been excellent. I can't remember what I put.
I put average. I've had some good days, but the thing is, I count. This is a bit bad, but I count the London Stadium. I count the whole match day thing. It does say your match day experience at the London Stadium. That's two different things, in my opinion. Because match day experience is really good, but at the London Stadium itself, well, it's not very good. Because I usually turn up 5 minutes before kickoff, and 5 minutes after full time I've left, and it's like the bit in the middle. I normally have a dodgy hot dog now and again. So I get slagged off for eating my dodgy hot dog. But my sight lines are good, so it's all right.
So everyone can see your hot dog. The sight lines are good, yeah.
But this one, 44% of people said average on this one. Then it was split between good and poor, 26% apiece. Question 14. West Ham have been criticised for not paying enough in the contribution to the transformation costs and running costs of the stadium. Do you think West Ham should pay more? Well, this is like a 2-year-old argument, essentially. But yes, no, or don't know was the options on here.
But I went with yes.
Yeah, I put yes as well. I think the deal is too good financially. It's too good. I think when you look at what their report predicted, they predicted something like it was a small couple of £1 million profit a year, and they're actually chucking away tens of millions of pounds a year. It's all wrong. But it's now come back to bite us in the arse. When we say, can we do this? They're understandably turning around going, no. We'll go, well, we'll pay for it. And they're still going, nah. Don't want your money.
As you would with anyone that had screwed you with a deal. You would do.
Yeah. So I think it is too cheap. But to be fair, 46% of fans that filled in the survey also think it's too cheap. 35% said no. So there's a lot of people still think it's fair, and 17% of people sat on the fence on this one and said don't know. Question 15. Do you think West Ham will become a regular top 6 club within the next 5 years as a result of the move to the London Stadium? Why are you laughing?
I want to know. Everyone knows what I put. I want to know who put yes. Well, how many people? Not. I don't need their individual names, but obviously, how many people said yes that they thought that would happen?
David Sullivan, David Gold, Jack Sullivan, Karen Brady, Carroll. I'll just get up the list of employees at West Ham United and read them out.
Hey, but how many people? Give me a number. How many people?
138 people.
138 people out of 4,000, wasn't it? There's a lot of people.
Just over 4,000
people. Yeah, I just want to say about this survey. This is 4,000 people. Very, very good. This is not 4,000 people doing a thumbs up. You know what I mean? Clicking thumbs up. It takes a little while to do this. To get 4,000 people to commit to 20 questions, then everything else is decent. So I do think that's a good cross-section. So 100-odd people out of the 4,000 thought we would get top 6. I mean, that's interesting. I'd like to hear their individual reasons why, of course.
85% of people said no on this. It's possibly it's one of the biggest answers in terms of percentage wise. We're coming on to the club opinions now rather than the stadium, and the stadium opinions so far have actually been quite split. I think its average has been popping up a lot, or good's been. It's not as bad as it was a year ago, if I remember correctly. A year ago, London Stadium got hammered, but this year I think people are getting used to it, or they're just starting to. They've moved about and they're finding their own ways of making the match day enjoyable and stuff. The stewarding has got better from a year ago. While it's still poor, going by the survey, it's a lot better than what we saw. If you take the Burnley game out of it, I don't think there's been any issues this season, perhaps. Just that Burnley game was the one that flared it all up again. So it has improved, but we're now moving on to the club opinions. What you think of the club and the stadium, etc. And 85% of people don't have any belief. But to make this question even more genuine, I think if you go back to the other question about how long will it take for this club, for this stadium to feel like home, the biggest portion of fans said 2 to 5 seasons. So they were being realistic, saying you've got 2 to 5 years. It'll take you 2 to 5 years to make this feel like home. But still, in the same period, they're saying, but we're not going to become a top 6 club. So I think if you're going to, there'll be a lot of people that say, oh, people are just voting for that. No. But the same people are also voting fairly on the other questions about the atmosphere, about the sightlines, etc. It's a fair answer. So I think the whole survey gives this some sort of integrity, if you like. I voted no as well. Someone did say if you remove the bit as a result of the London Stadium, he might have answered differently. Now, I do challenge that person to say they would, if we stayed at Upton Park, do you think we'd still be a top 6 club in 5 years? It's difficult because we ain't got the money to do it. It's not necessarily because of the stadium. It's just we've just not got the financial muscle to get into that top 6. London Stadium or Upton Park, doesn't matter. It's only, 10 million a year more? That's not enough. You need 100 million a year more to even think about it.
Well, the TV deal is so good, it almost renders the amount of people you have in your stadium almost redundant. I don't even know why Chelsea are doing it. And it pains me to say it, but, I went to Chelsea whenever it was a couple of weeks ago, and I sat there. It's just nice stadium, 40-odd thousand, close to the pitch. They're getting, they're turning over 300 million a year or something like that. Their owner's a billionaire. Is it really worth the extra 20,000 to them? How much is it going to yield? Is it even going to yield as much as another good player? It won't. A good player these days, 50, 60 million. It won't even yield that much. It really won't over the course of the season. So I think when a lot of the time when they built these stadiums, people thought that would make a real difference. But the TV deals got so big now, and this is before the big players have come in, which we'll discuss another time, Amazon and whatnot, and bidding for rights. It almost doesn't matter.
Question 16, a similar question, so we're not going to go into detail, but I'll give you the results. Do you think West Ham will kick on to the next level and become a top 4 team within 10 years as a result of the stadium move? 82% said no. Somehow it's lower than the other one. And 176 people said yes on this one. Go just slightly more. Carrie must have managed to get a few of her friends to vote differently on question 16. And question 17, do you think the West Ham board are doing a good job? Well, here's where it gets a little bit interesting. What did you vote for this? Excellent, good, average, or poor?
Oh, poor. Definitely poor.
So did 66.6%. So literally a third of people that took a survey voted poor. 27% said average, which means just over 5% said good or excellent, which equates to 225 people.
Is there a breakdown? Did anyone say excellent?
0.81%, 33 people. So now we're getting to the crux of it. 33 people work for the club.
Or one person did the survey 33 times.
Can you do that? I would have hoped you.
I don't know. I think you probably have to do a different email each time. But listen, as we know from trolls on the forum on Hammers Chat, a dedicated troll will create a new IP address, will create a new email. They'll keep on coming. So I'm pretty sure. Whoever was put in charge of it banging the keys. Come on. Excellent. Brilliant.
Well, we don't need to go into detail why we both voted poor. We've been doing it for the last 2 seasons. Question 18, how well does... This is an interesting question for me because, as you know, I care about customer service. That's my thing. And so question 18, how well does West Ham value you as a supporter and listen to fans' concerns? What did you vote here?
I didn't vote the bottom one. I voted the next one up because we've been able to help some fans along the way when we've highlighted things to West Ham, and they do get stuff done. I'm talking primarily to some people in the ticket office who have helped out. So I think you've got to separate it. There are some good members of staff in that club who will help out fans, but the overriding thought in my mind when I hear that question is, do the owners care about the fans? And it's a resounding no for me. I really don't think they do. So, but I haven't marked it the lowest mark just because those, people like Jake and people like, there's a couple of people in the ticket office and whatnot. I've marked it up just because how nice and helpful they are.
31% of people voted for you voted for, which was average. 5% said good, under 1% said excellent, and 61% voted the same as me, which is poor. Now, this question is a trick question because I think there's 2 questions in here, but it's combined as one, and that is, how well does West Ham value as a supporter? I think that's one question. Then there's another part, and listen to fans' concerns. I split that in 2 in my head because I think they do listen. The problem is I don't think they value you as a supporter because they have to get things wrong and then they go fix it. They can never just get it right straight away. The amount of times something's happened, and like you said, we've helped people out, but we have to help them people out. Yeah. And that's the problem here. The fact that the other day, I think it was Monday, we got an email from a fan. He might be watching this, I don't know. He literally emailed us to confirm what the club has told him is true because he doesn't even trust the club. It's that bad now that he got something from the club and he thought, well, hang on a minute, I'm going to go check this out. And he emailed us saying, can you just confirm that this is right? How embarrassing is that from the club? But the thing is, unfortunately for this guy, the only people we can check with is the people he's checked with. So we're going to get our answers from them. But it just shows.
We get emails all the time. For those of you don't say this, it's just something that happens. We get emails, the Hammers Chat email and the the associated accounts all the time, asking about transport stuff, asking about ticket stuff. Literally, fans contact us a lot for stuff that the club give the answers. Like Geo says, it does happen an awful lot, more than I ever expected when we started doing this, actually. But yeah, and obviously some of them are easy. Sometimes you just turn around and go, oh, no, that picture's moved to a Sunday or whatever. But others are genuine gripes, and well, you've helped out that fan. I won't go into detail, but but you try and do what you can. But there's a lot of stuff that we have to prompt to happen.
Yeah, that was all the questions. The other were 2. One is for additional comments, and then the other one is just asking where you came from. But thank you to everybody that went on and did the survey from our lot. There was 600 of you roughly, so thank you very much. But Gonzo, I'll just run through the transfer rumours. We're not going to discuss them because we're close to just question time. Get your questions in on the live chat on YouTube. If you're on iTunes, go to youtube.com/Hammers Chat if you wish to interact with the show again. And if you are on YouTube and you'd rather listen to it on iTunes, the link to our iTunes channel is in the description below, so make sure you subscribe to that as well. And we put up all of the cup of teas on there. And also, if you do comment below in this episode, you get entered into the draw to win the signed Antonio shirt. But the recent transfer rumours is Dendonker's back on. Anderlecht said he can leave if there's a worthy offer coming for him. We're being linked with Danny Drinkwater again for 30 million. Jack Butlin and Rondon are still circling. James Collins still does not know if he's going to be getting a new deal or not. Gonzo, are you ready for your question time?
Yes, please. Yes, please. I'm ready for my cup of tea, but it doesn't seem to be forthcoming. So we'll have some questions.
Let's start with the Twitter ones at Hammers_chat. We usually do these on a Wednesday. We won't be doing it next week because we play Man United on the Thursday, so we'll have 2 previews during the week as well as a review and stuff. And then the following week we might do one, depends on the news, but we're recording stuff on the Monday after Everton, so there might be different content on the channel for that week. So first one is from Lucky Malden at Lucky Malden. He says, can you tell me what Czech Chiati does to warrant starting for West Ham? I'll leave this one to you. I've had my say on Czech.
I'll tell you what, Luke, when you down the boats, when you come down the boats, the guy that does the barbecue down the boats, he's been down. He's a lovely guy, and he's from Plymouth, but he's always down there, and he's always just sort of helping out and working. And he managed to go to this game, to the Man City game. So we've been chatting with him, got to know him really well over the course of the 2 seasons. He actually went to the game. He was very excited. He came back after the game, and he was going on, who's your number 8? Who's your number 8? What's he doing? Who is that bloke number 8? The guy with all the legs. What's he doing? He's useless. He's terrible. How's he playing football? So yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much explains it, that somebody that doesn't really watch West Ham went to that game, saw Chiati, and didn't know what was going on. He just thought he was all arms and legs and didn't look like a footballer. So that possibly answers your question, Luke.
I haven't a clue. At Jimbo Norwood, Jamie says, this is a question that quite a few people have asked. Would you sack David Moyes now? There's 3 games to go, and he's suggesting getting Trevor Brook in. There's some people suggesting other names, but just in general, there's 3 games to go. Obviously, we can't sack him today, but if we got beat by Leicester, 2 games to go, there's a good chance we're in the relegation zone Saturday night. Would you be sacking Moyes and rolling the dice for the final 2, or do we just have to stick with what we've got and hope he's got enough about him to get us out?
I think you've got to stick with him, Jamie. Well, you haven't got to do what you want. But if the question's been asked to me, I think I would probably stick with him. And everyone knows what I think of Moyes. But I'm not sure what good that would do. Trevor Brook in or no Trevor Brook in. There's been little or no difference between Moyes and Bilic, as there. So I think I'd probably leave it in the lap of the gods and hope that Moyes can get something out of one of the remaining 3 games.
If we lose against Leicester, I would sack him. I think if he cannot get more than 1 point against Leicester and Stoke, and we've only got 2 games left of the season, we're in trouble. I don't know what David Moyes' record is against Allardyce. It would be interesting to know just who gets better head-to-head out of them, because they've been at similar-sized clubs over the years. I just wouldn't trust him. I couldn't trust him anymore. Who would they get in? I don't know. I remember doing this ages ago, and I said Terry Wesley or Steve Potts. That's probably who I'd be looking at. Or do the board trust Stuart Pearce in the sense that could Stuart Pearce manage without David Moyes, or is Stuart Pearce loyal to David Moyes? Which one is it? Is he willing to almost stab the knife in the manager's back? Because that's essentially what's going to look like he's done a little bit. It's worked for West Brom. Getting rid of Pardew and putting Darren Moore in charge, it's worked. They look like a different side all of a sudden. Is he the solution long term for West Brom? Probably not. I'll tell you what, he's making a damn good job of his interview, if you like. So 2 games to go. You know something? I would hate to get beat by Leicester, then we somehow get relegated, right? After the Everton game, we would all turn around and go, why did we not sack him after the Leicester game? We would do that. So it would be a risk, but it's also a risk keeping him. And I think it would be riskier keeping him than it would be not keeping him. So if we lose on Saturday, I think Moyes has got to get the chop, and he's got to get the chop literally the next day, because we play Man United on Thursday. And that's why I think it needs to be an internal person that takes control.
Sure. It won't. They won't. They won't sack him.
No, I don't think they will. How much compensation would he be due anyway? Like 30 grand?
Buttons or something. I don't know. He's such a small contract. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there's a sort of system in place because he gets the opportunity to earn his $2 million bonus. If he's got to be allowed that opportunity, I don't know. Who knows?
I'd imagine we sacked him and stayed up, he would be due his bonus, even though he was charged for the last 2 games. Hammers fans, is that national insurance number bloke guy again? Hammers fans, I've got a screenshot this time. It's Hammers fans 02380. Don't know what that number is.
I know.
It says, who had the worst attitude on Sunday? Andy Carroll for storming off because he didn't get on, or Hernandez for getting game time and making the most of it by walking about?
I probably Carroll. I'm not praising Hernandez, but I think you could level that accusation at lots of people, not just Hernandez. I think a lot of them are walking about. I think what Geo made a really good point. That was demonstrative. from Andy Carroll. He knew it would be picked up. You made a great point earlier, and that's why people, their managers, they sit on, and when they sit in the dugout, they cover their mouths with their hands when they speak because they know the camera's on them. That was done for dramatic effect. That was done, and I think that probably in the game of top trumps of crap West Ham performances, I think that probably wins against somebody not trying very hard on the pitch.
The thing is, I don't blame Hernandez. What was he meant to do? Listen, he could have ran about as much as he wanted up front against City, but it's pointless because there was no one else running about with him. He came on at 4-1 down. I mean, the guy must have been fuming when he went to get subbed on because I'll tell you what, the thing is, though, this is what you pick up at the game. We're on the opposite side. It went 3-1, and where we are, we're obviously going, Moyes, Moyes. And you look over, you can see Mario and Masuaku getting ready at 3-1. And Hernandez was still warming up at this point in front of the West Ham. And then we all thought, why is he bringing on Mario and Masuaku when you've got Hugo, Carroll, and Hernandez on there? And so you get some strikers on. So it was just those two ready. But as soon as it went 4-1, Hernandez come over. Now, Hernandez's mindset must be thinking, you're not even going to bring me on. You're only bringing me on because it's 4-1 now. So no wonder he come on fuming. Sure. It doesn't make it right. No. But the guy is one of the best strikers we've had in my lifetime. And he's getting treated like dirt. He's no wonder. He's probably feeling like it. He's probably thinking, what more have I got to do? I'm better than what you've seen in the first half.
This is the point. We have the striker in our squad that could have scored the goal to propel us out of this relegation trouble. We have him. He's there. He's been here all season. And as frustrating as it is for us, I bet it's frustrating for him as well, knowing he could do it.
He probably finds it an insult that he's getting brought on at 4-1 down. He's probably thinking, I'm better than this. You know, and he probably is. Hugo's the guy you should be bringing on here. Not Hernandez. As bad as it sounds, you don't want to massage egos and stuff. But what's Hernandez's motivation at 4-1 down? What's he got to be motivated by? Hugo's got a motivation. He's got something to prove here. He's probably going to snap someone just to make his point. Back to the Twitter questions at Music Dan WHU man. Dan the West Ham man.
That is a long name.
Yeah. It's quite a tongue twister as well, isn't it? There's lots of A's in there. Dan the West Ham man.
Man. Yeah, okay.
Do you think we'd be in the same situation if we signed a world-class midfielder at the start of the season, i.e. Cavallo?
I do think we needed a midfielder. Was Cavallo that guy? I'm not so sure. Every time I saw him, he looked a little bit slow, if you ask me. So if you take a Carvalho out of the equation and put somebody else in there that we know was used to the Premier League, I do think a midfielder, a proper midfielder that can pass, run and tackle would have made the world of difference to us. If that's in your mind is Carvalho, then all well and good. But we have certainly struggled in central midfield all season. I ask you to go back to our Man City friend. Actually, don't go back and watch a review from our Man City friendly, but in the Man City friendly at the start of the season, it was glaringly obvious if you listen to our review that we were going to have problems in midfield all season unless it was sorted.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was massive. It was crucial to Bilic's plans at the end of the day. He didn't write him. I find it so clear he wanted to play 4-2-3-1. So clear that was his formation, and Cavallo was pivotal to that. And when you don't get the one guy that's key, then what are you meant to do? Like, your whole thing comes crashing down completely. So do I think it would have do I think it would have got us into the top 8? No. But do I think we'd be in a relegation battle? Probably not. But there is an element of luck here. You know, he could have got injured on the first game of the season or something. We don't know. But it's all hypothetical. However, I think if the transfer business was done better, I think we'd be in a better position as we are now. Nick at Cuckoo Blofeld. Yeah, I think
Blofeld.
Yeah, that's the one. How many people do you think roughly will not renew their season tickets? There's quite a big thing about this over the last few days with Moyes and the board and stuff, and people are saying, that's it, I'm done. Yeah. I got this a year ago as well, though, and 5,000, to be fair, 5,000 people is a lot of people to not renew, but because it's only 10%, we all sort of passed off. Do you think it'll be greater this summer?
Yes, without a shadow of a doubt. Again, this has been a consistent theme throughout all our shows this season. You need to put bums on seats. You need to provide entertaining football to put bums on seats, and you need to provide signings, marquee signings to fill a stadium of that size. They do nothing. They do none of it. They just assume that will just turn up, and they bank on it. They really do. They're not going to provide anything to incentivize enough people to go on there, so there'll be a large drop. And I've got to say, and this is not about championship. In fact, I probably would be more likely to review if we got one in the championship. Let me just say that for reasons that I would go into at another time. But I've been close in the last few days. There was one thing that I read that somebody sent me. I think Bill sent. Thank you very much. Bill sent it to me. He'd taken some screenshots from Facebook of some message about a guy, and he was walking out the ground, and he turned to his son and said, "I just can't do this anymore." And crikey, I read through it. Oh, blimey, I was almost welling up, sort of thing. And it was the story of a West Ham fan betrayed, basically, all summed up. He'd written himself, and he just couldn't go anymore, and it wasn't the club he loved, and his son concurred and understood. And that's one man's story, but it's not an unfamiliar theme. There will be a number of people that don't renew, so I'm expecting the drop-off to be quite large.
It wasn't just his son that understood. We all read it and understood at the same time. When you're reading it, you're thinking, yeah, I get this. I'm like you, I suppose, to an extent. I still haven't decided. I've still got a month, so I'm not under any pressure. But it's the TV as well, but it's everything. It's not really like... Sunday was a weird atmosphere for me on Sunday, because that's the first time I think I've been at a game where people just didn't care. Normally people get angry. I remember being at Brighton at 3-0 down. People were fuming. They were effing and blinding, Burnley, everything. Everyone gets angry. Even 1-1 against Bournemouth at home, people were getting angry that Moyes was bringing on defenders. But on Sunday, when City scored, there was barely anyone around me said anything. Everyone just went... Now, I know people will say, well, it's because it's City, but this is what's come to now. Our expectations are literally on the floor, that we're happy, well, not happy, we're accepting just getting beat, because that's just what it is now. 50 minutes to go. I've never seen the ground that empty before. Not once have I seen the ground empty at lunch. I know we all joke about how people leave early and how it's hardly anyone turns up. 15 minutes to go on Sunday, that ground's sparse. There's people, I was with a couple of people that I've never seen them leave the game early. They left early. Dan Lawless came and stood next to me. We had the whole row to ourselves. There was just me and him standing there. And someone said, "Oh, I seen your match of the day when the fourth goal went in or something." Said, "It looks like you're on the row yourself." I said, "Yeah, there was just two of us." We're looking around. Just like, but the thing is, though, that's got to be an indicator. Sullivan has to be looking at that thinking, this is it. This is what I've got left now. Everybody's leaving, and they can blame all the transport links if all they want, but the kickoff was 2:15. It wasn't an 8 p.m. kickoff. There was no massive travel disruptions compared to normal. I think a lot of people will walk away. I think it'll be 8,000 to 10,000 people will walk away. I think enough for a lot of people. They've bitten off more than they can chew. And the problem is, this board are not going to announce David Moyes' situation until after the deadline. We all know it. It's not going to happen. For 2 weeks, from the season finishing to the renewal, there's going to be 2 weeks. Everyone's going to be in limbo. And there's a lot of people who are going to be hinging their decision to renew on the David Moyes thing. And it's going to be a game of chicken. It's going to be a game of chicken between the fan with his money and the board with David Moyes. And who's going to go first? So you're going to announce David Moyes, but if you do that, a lot of people are going to go, that's going in my pocket. But if you sack him, a lot of people will go, well, I'll put my money down. But then the club are probably doing something they don't want to do. And it's a game of chicken. And who's got the balls here? Is David Sullivan really going to test the fans? Because I've not seen, I don't know about you, but I've not seen as many texts and emails about renewals as I have this last few days. Monday, less than 24 hours after getting beat 4-1 by City, people are getting texts, remember renew. That's desperate. There's nothing classy about that. This is desperate times for West Ham. And I think they're panicking a little bit now. I got an email today, I think, telling me to remember and renew. Or you can have your finance options, blah, blah, blah. Not convinced yet, mate. Sorry. At PGson2 says, do you believe Moyes is guaranteed a contract if we stay up in the Premier League, regardless of how we stay up?
I did until this week. But I now know that Sullivan knows the depth of feeling. Before I thought, is he just cocooned? But I know he knows. I know he knows. And he's fully aware of all these poll results. He's fully aware of how much the fans don't rate Moyes. And he is fully aware that for him to reappoint Moyes would be a bad move. So I actually don't expect it to happen, whatever happens. But also I think what Geo said is correct, and I do think it's a game of chicken. But it would be exactly in keeping with the board's way of doing things for them to call it wrong and not announce it later, because actually it would do them a big favour to announce it very, very soon. They would sell more season tickets because of it, and they would do themselves a hell of a lot of good by saying, you know, whatever, we thank David Moyes for his work, he's sacked. They could probably do a bit better of a press release than that one, but they can use that if they want. But then also say, we are also not going to be targeting any players until we get, you know, that new manager coming in. So as we know that whoever's going to be signed is not Sullivan's signing and whatnot, they'll need to move quick, granted, but that would sell more tickets, and that's, but as I say, be very in keeping with their way of doing things, to do the opposite.
All right, I'm a bit like you. I think a week ago I would have said yes, he's staying regardless. Now I think they're weighing up the options a little bit, going, hang on a minute, this guy's really not popular here. The fans really don't want him. The Andy Carroll thing's probably tipped it in the fans' favour as well. They're probably thinking, well, Christ, Andy Carroll, at the end of the day, he's a high earner. So you don't want to be pissed. You don't want to put your high earner in the reserves, if you like. No club wants to do that, but if it comes to it, it comes to it. And two, he's probably one of the harder players to shift in the summer if they had to. The board could allow Saka to sit there sulking because he was on such little money. It probably didn't bother them that much. You can't do that with Andy Carroll. He's probably the 6th highest earner of the club. We can't afford to have him just not playing a part in the season. And I think the Andy Carroll thing's probably blowing David Moyes' long-term stay wide open, even more than it was. But even if they do on the Monday or whatever, do a thing saying by mutual consent we've parted ways, we'd like to thank David for his time, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's a winner. We stay up. David Moyes' reputation's repaired to an extent, certainly in the neutral world. But who are they going to go get? They don't have a lot of time. This transfer window in the summer shuts about 2 weeks earlier than usual as well. World Cup in the way. Oh, it's all lining up to be a disaster of a transfer window again. You know, we're targeting the likes of Fellaini and that. That's David Moyes' players we're chasing here. If you're going to sack Moyes, you can't still go sign Fellaini and then bring in a completely different manager and go, well, there's your squad. And they're looking at it going, hang on, I've got a hybrid of Bilic and Moyes here, and I'm neither. Like, this is where the whole big structure gets called into question, because if you're going to sack Moyes, but you're still going to target his players in the summer, you almost have to go bring in a slightly better version of David Moyes. Now, the funny thing is, Rafa Benitez would probably fit that. He's better than Moyes, but he could probably work with Moyes' squad, whereas Marco Silva probably would. He'd probably look at it and go, what the blinking hell is this?
Absolutely, yeah. No one can't trap a bag of cement, this lot, yeah.
So it's all a bit funny, but I'll tell you what, this is David Sullivan cannot hesitate. He's got to make his mind up before the Everton game. He's got to act like that, and it's got to be a domino effect, and it's got to be a quick one. Sack the manager, get the new one in, get your transfer strategy sorted out, and there's got to be 3 very quick movements. No dilly-dallying, which we've seen from him. Right, onto the YouTube live questions. We'll rattle through these. Robert says, what top goalie do you think we should sign? Now, we've both said Heaton. We agree with that. If you had to sign Heaton for, just to change it up, if you had to sign Heaton for 18 million or Butland for 27 million, which one would you go for?
Well, because of our transfer budget, I'd have to take Heaton. But if for some miracle we had 150 million to spend, I'd take Butland. Yeah,
Heaton for me as well. Jacob says, what do you think about potentially having Kevin Nolan as manager? He did say with a director of football as well.
I just think anything is better at the moment. I just think almost anything is better. He's our worst. Anything is better. I'm right. He's got a worse record than Avram Grant. Anyone's better.
The thing is, Kevin Nolan's doing well at Notts County, but I have never watched Notts County, okay? And without looking into it, I'm going to take a guess that his football is probably not that much different to what Allardyce has played, because that's how Nolan's played all his career. Nolan's used to the big man up front, someone in behind him, defensive.
Do you know, I've got to say this. Roberto Mancini plays boring football. What a footballer he was. Silky, skillful. George Graham was a really skillful footballer, played the most boring football in the world. A lot of these players go the other way when they become managers. A lot of them. So I don't know. Anyway, listen, I'm just saying it's better. It wouldn't be my choice. We've done this over and over again. But sorry. Anyway, I thought he meant for the final 3 games or whatever. But yeah, you know, no, we couldn't appoint him on a long-term contract, you know. But I still think he'd be better than Moyes.
Yeah, he's a risk. I don't think he's the right risk. I think there's loads of risks out there I'd rather take. Flight says, has moving to the London Stadium made us more attractive to potential investors? I mean, that was the whole idea of it. It wasn't what we believe was the whole idea of it. And as every month goes by, you start to wonder if we've been looking at it wrong, or if we're just waiting for the stadium now. Before it was as soon as we move, they'll sell up. Now it's as soon as they move and get the stadium, they'll sell up. I mean, there's no indication that they're willing to or ready to sell up. So do you think it has made us more attractive? I mean, Tripp would certainly suggest it has.
I think to mega rich owners, somebody that can afford to do something with the stadium, I do think the club needs to own the land and have the land. So once they've stitched the stadium management company up to such an extent that they have to hand the leasehold or the sort of freehold over, then somebody might think, actually, I can build a stadium on there and build a hotel and almost do something that Ken Bates originally did with Stamford Bridge, you know, where he almost built a little complex on there. Because I think the land, the real estate, as they say in America, is so precious and so good that actually something decent could be on there, and that might be an investment for somebody who's worth a few billion to think, actually, I'm going to go knock that down and do exactly what I said. Is it for somebody that only has a few $100 million? No, they're just going to go buy a championship club and chuck a little bit of money about it and get promoted and do what Wolves have done.
I think it has. You know, at the end of the day, while the accounts are looking healthy for the last year, while it frustrates everybody seeing such a big profit and no transfer money being spent, you know, the commercials gone up, the revenue from the retail side of things has gone up. It has helped. I mean, when I was in there on Sunday, you couldn't help be like, I know it was match day stuff, but it was rammed full. And for people that were sort of pissed off with the club and thought, you thought, well, it's not really affecting that many people, are you? Like,
I've got to say, on at the Man City game, there were 4 non-West Ham fans sat next to me, and I didn't vlog it because I had my son and for numerous different reasons. But I took the thing with my phone and I tried to upload it to Twitter, just a clip. It was when everyone was singing Bubbles. I just wanted a clip. Look, there you go, spot the non-West Ham fans sort of thing. I had a load of. There were 3 or 4 Man City day trippers to my left in that row. I was gutting it. It was pretty heartbreaking. I spent most of the time looking on their phone as well and trying to subdue themselves a bit when Man City scored, which was lots. It was terrible. It was really, really bad. I was gutted.
They would have got that tickets off the ticket exchange as well because of who sits in those seats normally, etc. So you can sort of work out that.
You know the seats. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so that those tickets would have come out of the ticket exchange, or they would have bought them directly from the club as well. And that, but yeah, I think it's London Stadium has made us more attractive for investors. I think Tripp is proofs in the pudding here. Someone has invested in us since the move to the London Stadium. Final question for the evening. Noah says, if we still had Slav, do you think we'd stay up? We sort of had this last week, and you said we'd be roughly the same.
Yeah, I do. I mean, clearly there's other problems, as I've said, with the players and the owners as well. So it's just all a bit of a mess at the moment. I don't think anybody could say with any certainty you've got to remember when Slav left, he looked like a broken man. He was tired. He was downbeat. He was dejected. He needed out. I've not been privy to any of this Julian Dick stuff. I know Julian Dick's when I did the West Ham Way, X's show, did the pre-match show that he does. So I didn't hear any of that. I don't know, but I think he was downbeat. He'd been broken. I think Slav had been broken by the players and the owners. So I'm not sure he would have carried on and suddenly got his vibrancy for life back and done any different.
Yeah, the thing I was built as just fan stuff. I'm aware I'm quite biased when it comes to Slav, so trying not to be too biased. But I don't think we would have went down under him. There's a few times I've come out of that London Stadium this season or watched the games or whatever. I've thought that's the type of game Slav used to win, and we've not won them. You know, Bournemouth at home, Newcastle at home, those types of games, Stoke at home. That's when, you know, the Slav had been throwing strikers on against Stoke. Doesn't always work, but he would have been going for it. Bournemouth at home, I remember thinking because Moyes took 2 attackers off and put 2 defensive players on, I remember thinking, flipping hell, Slav would have had 2 defenders off and 2 strikers on. He'd been going for the 3 points here. And I just think but flip side of it, there's other games that Moyes has got something out of. I don't think we would have won under Slav, but it's all hypothetical. We can never know. There's no way of proving it, but it just goes back to the fact that Bilic was poorly supported by the board. I think you could make cases for the same thing as being the case with David Moyes. I just think the intentions and the attitudes of the two managers are complete polar opposites for me, in terms of one wants to win games and one wants to not lose games, and that's why I feel the way I do towards one and the other way towards the other one. Gonzo, is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap up tonight's evening?
No. Roma 9, Liverpool 8. I'm just about to go and watch the last 5 minutes.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I'm going to go catch that as well. But anyway, thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Cup of Tea with Geo and Gonzo. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Get your comments in below to be entered into the competition to win the signed Michael Antonio shirt. If you're on iTunes, make sure you subscribe to it and leave a review as well. Me and Gonzo will be back tomorrow night, which is Thursday, doing the preview of the big game on Saturday, which is against Leicester City. 6-pointer. And we'll see you there.